You guys look like... What do they look like, Jimmy?
Dorks. They look like a couple of dorks.
Get those birds!
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
What? Are you kidding? We got some family here. Can you dig it? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. Joining us is Brian Young.
God, I love being a turtle!
The Turtle Dork.
You can do it. You can do anything. You're the world's greatest grandma.
And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson.
Quick, suck it before the venom reaches my heart.
Wife Dork.
She's your queen to be, a queen to be forever, a queen who'll do whatever His Highness desires. She's your queen to be, a vision of perfection, an object of affection, to quench your royal fire, completely free from infection, to be used for your discretion, waiting only for your direction. She's your queen to be.
And also joining us is Brad Gullickson.
And for gosh sake, watch your language.
That's not going away anytime soon.
Mouth Dork.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your heart to do. I'm half crazy, hopeful in love with you.
And I'm your host, Darren Smith.
Warm, warmer, disco.
The Disco Dork.
I got a special treat for you this evening. A young man you all know as Joe the Policeman from What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama. I want you to put your hands together and welcome him to the stage. A big round of applause for Jackson Heights' own Mr. Randy Watson. Yes, Randy Watson.
And welcome to the It Modcast podcast.
That boy is good.
Kind of makes you wish you brought it, didn't you, Brian?
I know.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, this was the wrong week for me to just.
You were underdressed today. You were underdressed.
A little bit.
What's going on, fellow dorks?
Hey.
Not much, friend.
It's another Marvel movie week.
It is. It's another Marvel movie week on top of us being 10 days out from
Oh my god, oh my
Comic-Con,
god,
maybe?
oh my god, oh my god.
That's today.
Yeah.
When this episode airs, it'll be 9 days.
Yes. So you may notice a certain energy, a particular energy permeating out throughout this particular episode because we're a little bit excited, maybe a little bit, a lot.
If I'm out on the street, when you see me on the street and I have a glow, it's because of Comic-Con.
Yep.
Not pregnant.
Not pregnant.
But
Barren.
you know, with Comic-Con
Totally.
on the horizon, we still have things to do and before we leave, and one of those things is our week in Dork. So Brian, I know you're excited to head out to the West Coast.
Oh yeah.
Once again, but before we do that, you got to tell the people what you've been up to. How was your week in Dork?
Oh, non-existent.
Oh.
No weekend dork this week.
You're busy packing.
Actually, I have been kind of ordering some stuff. It's kind of weird because I haven't really been that engaged in the prep for Comic-Con as much as I have been in the past.
What about your t-shirts?
No, just gonna wing it. Just gonna tab what I've already been wearing.
Just gonna
it's
go
be-
shirtless.
Yeah. It's,
Sounds
it's not gonna look too pretty, but
What about your Casey Jones cosplay?
nah, those days are gone.
Those days are gone.
Those were a short number of days.
It was very.
It was like a days.
a day, half a day.
Your cosplay career
That's it?
started
But,
and over.
Oh.
It'll be back. It'll be back.
Oh yeah, no, I'll probably do it next year. But no, this year is going to be kind of low key for me. But yeah, I haven't really been focused too much, and which is a good thing that I haven't really been thinking about Comic-Con. But now, kind of we're ramping up to the countdown, I'm starting to kind of get a little more eager. So this last week of work is going to be a little long. But yeah, kind of this week, I don't know if this is kind of, this might not be great podcasting, but kind of just been working on my business, doing some video stuff. If anybody follows me on social media, you can see that I've been finishing up some projects that I've been posting. And
that wedding video you did was like so beautiful.
Yeah, I put a couple out there. Thank you.
I really appreciate you putting those out there. I wish you had shot our wedding.
Yeah, our
Seriously.
pictures are awful, and our video is awful.
Well, I mean,
Our video's fun.
and that
Video's
comes
fun, but
Not professional.
But that comes with the times, because you guys got married, what, 2009?
Yeah, and
So-
it was while I was in grad school, so I really didn't bring it. We got to renew our vows.
I was gonna say, can you just redo it?
Could we renew our vows at Comic-Con?
That would be amazing, and then we can re-register for gifts because it's been 9 years and all of our shit is broken.
Yeah, and then we re-register with SDCC
Exclusives.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I like that.
And Brian, you film it at Comic-Con.
I can definitely do that.
I don't even know if we could afford Brian at this point.
No, you can.
Podcast discount?
Yeah, definitely. You guys are my peoples. I'll take care of you.
So, are you doing this in Hall H?
Yes.
Ooh.
And who is going to officiate?
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith
There
officiates.
you go. I
That's
like
what
it.
he
I like
does.
it already. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've kind of been up to. Of course,
nothing,
I've seen.
basically.
We'll get into it into the second half. We'll talk about Ant-Man because I actually saw that twice. And,
Yeah.
So kind of looking forward to talking about that. But no television, no movies.
Were you on punishment?
No. News has been kind of light.
And no trailers.
No trailers. So yeah, really, it's just kind of just prep for me. So I'm sorry, listeners. I don't have much to talk about this week, but it's okay.
The next time we record will be the last record before Comic-Con. So you have to do some fun shit this week.
Yeah,
I hope you have some stuff planned.
I mean, I still have. You gave me the DVD or Blu-ray to cellular.
Oh yeah, you gotta watch cellular.
Darren gave me a couple of Blu-rays.
You also have to start up your Mission Impossible rewatch.
That's right. I saw on Letterboxd that you started with the first one,
Oh, yeah.
3.5 stars.
Yeah.
I'm eager because I haven't seen that first one in a while.
I like the first movie. I like the first movie quite a bit.
I'm looking forward to that.
It's not my favorite Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
It's not my
that's
least
the
favorite.
that's the second
Well,
one. Right?
we'll see. I gotta watch that. I might be watching that later today.
I like the evolution of Ethan Hunt as a character, but also I love the evolution of Tom Cruise's aging process, which seems to be to just get more manly.
But you know what? All right, the one thing I do want to mention, I've been listening to a podcast, and I just recently listened to a podcast where they talked to, it's called The Cinephiles with John Roker and Steve Morris, and they did Top Gun. And listening to them kind of break down Top Gun really makes me want to rewatch that movie so bad.
That movie is not good.
No.
Come on, Brad.
I mean, if you rewatch Top Gun, I'll rewatch Top Gun.
That film is garbage, though.
Hearing them talk about it, I just had so many fond memories of it.
Yeah,
and it's a fun.
The better Top Gun movie? Days of Thunder.
Yeah.
Same film.
That I haven't seen.
Ever?
No, I haven't seen Days
You're a
of
Tony
Thunder.
Scott maniac.
I know.
Brian would love Days of
Well,
Thunder.
shit. Well,
But you know what? I used to go on the ride at King's Dominion.
Yeah, it was
Remember
a
they
great
had
ride.
like the
Yeah,
simulating
yeah.
seats? I used to go on that all the time.
I think Brian would like Days of Thunder.
Brian, I'm giving you my Days of Thunder Blu-ray, and you're going to
I'll
watch
watch
that before you watch Cellular.
Okay.
But you're also going to watch Cellular, and you're going to
Yeah.
report back next week.
Yes, sir. I will do
He's
that.
gonna
Boom!
love
He just promised.
Yeah. So
Don't
he has
I'll
to
watch
do
him
it.
this
Don't
week.
disappoint our listeners.
Got you.
All right.
But that's what I got this week.
All right. Wife Dork.
Yes.
Yep. Same as Brian and everyone else. I know you're excited to get back to the West Coast.
I'm super stoked. Just doing the prep today for our preview cast, Comic-Con preview cast has gotten me so excited. I can't wait. I literally can't.
In all your excitement and your work, have you been able to at least have a good week in Dork?
I think I had a solid week in Dork. This week was the week of 4th of July, so my sister was in town, and then who lives in Michigan. She sometimes listens. Hi, Teresa.
Hi, Teresa.
Though she doesn't generally listen to our weeks in Dork. So if I have any opportunity to talk shit about her, it's right now.
Damn.
Not in a fistful, though. She listens to those.
Oh.
But her family was in town, so I spent a lot of time just doing family time. But I did manage to see Jaws on Monday on July 2nd. Perfect time.
So good.
I was like, what is that sound?
It's me loving Jaws.
Oh, I thought you were pooping.
No, it's my favorite movie of all time. And
Oh, right.
It still is.
It was a movie party, but it was super enjoyable. The crowd was stoked. We had those foamy shark hats.
Yeah.
And like little poppers to pop after
Roy Scheider says,
Yes.
"Smile, you son of a bitch."
and then boom.
Oh,
And yeah,
okay.
and so popping those was super fun.
Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot of quoting along. I think it was just a lot of people really intently watching the movie, which was awesome, except for when we got to the part with the song. Show me a way to go home. I really wanted everybody to sing,
Tired
but
and I want to go
but
to
it
bed.
didn't happen.
Bum, bum,
But
bum.
me
I
and
had
Brad
a
sang.
drink about an hour ago. And
Did
it
y'all
went
sing
straight
in
to
it?
Yeah,
my
we did.
head.
But I
Okay.
mean, quietly, because you don't want to be
Oh.
the, it's like singing in church. Like you don't want to sing too loud.
Yeah.
And so if the people next to you aren't singing,
And then
then
I
it's
did
just
the
like church is
entire
weird.
USS Indianapolis quote.
No, he did not.
A
Though I
doll's
would've-
eyes, a doll's eyes.
Yes. So that was soups fun. And I managed to binge the entire second season of Queer Eye, which dropped.
Damn, how many episodes is that?
How many episodes
Like
is
10?
that?
Like 50 episodes?
Let me
something
see.
like
I
Really?
have no, it's just 8.
Oh.
It's just
Shit.
8.
Okay.
I think I actually talked the first season on a Lost episode, but the first season also great, super enjoyable. I love this new group of queers, I guess. I think they're super fun. They seem to really love each other, and they really bare their souls. They're willing to be like super vulnerable to connect with people of other cultures that they're reaching out through doing these makeovers. For example, Bobby Burke, he was raised in a super conservative evangelical Christian home. And when he came out, he had just absolutely a terrible experience, and he felt rejected by his faith. And the first episode of this season, they went to help someone to do a makeover for a woman. So first woman on Queer Eye, very cool, who worked very closely with the church, and she wanted to have a makeover for their church's little recreation center, I guess, or community hall, whatever. But she also had a son who had come out as gay and was really afraid of going back to the church for this. They were having like a homecoming. So he used that as you really got to hear a lot about Bobby's story, is he's using it to connect with this mother who, despite, being connected to the church, still loves and supports her son. And so it's just really nice. So in this particular season, there's a lot of the same, making over a straight guy, some, married dude or young guy who is who lacks self-confidence, and it expresses itself in the way that they dress and the way that they take care of their home. And really the message is, if you're, it seems superficial to, do all of this grooming regimen and, giving yourself, self-care and keeping your home nice and organized. It can seem superficial, but sometimes when you are feeling a lack of self-confidence on the inside, it expresses itself in, not going out and do things, not changing your clothes, changing your look, dressing in a way that shows that you value yourself. And so they go to, these different dudes and do these makeovers. But they also, in this season, do their first makeover of a trans man. And I thought that was a really beautiful story. This guy had just had top surgery, and he was 6 weeks out of top surgery. And they opened the episode with the Queer Eye guys sitting on the couch watching this surgery. And after the surgery, I wish I looked up the man's name, but after the surgery, this guy comes out of anesthesia and is not thinking clearly, clearly not all there, but just looks down at his chest and sees that it's flat, and he just lights up. He just looks so relieved and content, and it was just absolutely such a touching experience. And then, of course, they go into his home and they help make the decor more tasteful, and they go through his closet and really connect with who he is as a person, because Tan, who is the fashion expert, really had not had a lot of interaction with trans people. And he goes into this guy's closet and he sees a lot of very androgynous clothes. So you would think, oh, this person wants to be seen as a man and wants to just express themselves as a man. So they would go for manly clothes. But that wasn't the case for this guy. He started out expressing his masculinity through doing drag, and doing drag king. And that's a lot of the inspiration for drag is very spangly and very loud. And so Tan was able to learn more about the trans community. I, as a viewer, got to learn a lot about the trans community, and I think that that's just not a story that you see very often. And it's nice to see it's not about the Queer Eye guys going out and teaching people how to act. It's really people learning from each other, and they always find a way to become inspired by their subjects. And I like the fact that they're really going out of their way to talk about these subjects that are hard to talk about with people they're hard to talk about too, So I think that it's really a beautiful show. I think it's doing amazing work. And I actually discovered that one of the Queer Eye guys, Jonathan Van Ness, has a podcast, and it's called Getting Curious, where it's kind of like Michael Ian Black's How to Be Amazing podcast, where he just talks to people that he's interested in. But he talks to people about experts on subjects that he's curious about. And so the most recent episode, he talks to an ethicist, and it's a super interesting episode. And I love the way Jonathan talks to people, because he's so bubbly and so open and also kind of ditzy, So he tends to ask, the kind of shallow, fun questions. There's a lot of gaps in his knowledge, not because he's dumb, but he knows a lot about hair. That's his thing. And so it makes for a super fun, super informative podcast. And yeah, so they're just bringing love into the world, and who can't support that? It's awesome.
All right. That's it?
Yep. Did I do anything else cool? I hung out with my sibs.
No.
We ate pie.
Oh, okay. Well, pie's good.
Pie is great.
Oh, Brad says no. Okay. Well, Mr. Mouth Dork,
yes.
How was your week in Dork?
Another good week in Dork. I watched a lot. Check my letterbox.
Theater-wise or on the...
Both, actually. But where I wanted to start was, last week I was talking about Harlan Ellison, his passing. And I've been reading a lot of Ellison short stories still, and I just got his biography, A Lit Fuse, which I've really been enjoying. But just the other day, Steve Ditko, the co-creator of Spider-Man and Doctor Strange and Hawk and Dove and The Creeper and so many amazing comic book characters, just recently passed away at the age of 90. Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, they really are the building blocks of Marvel. Now, we all love Stan Lee. Stan Lee is an amazing brand of a human being. He is the idea guy. He is a writer guy. But I feel like he takes a lot of credit for the work that his collaborators really achieved. And in Steve Ditko's case, You may or may not be aware of the Marvel method. Back in the 60s, the way Stan Lee would do it, so he could write a bajillion comic books every month, he would give their artists a synopsis, a brief rundown of what he would like to see, and then the artist would go off and do all the plotting, all the paneling. And sometimes he wouldn't even give him a synopsis. Like in Doctor Strange's case, Stan Lee has like readily admitted that, this was Steve's idea. Steve created. I mean, Doctor Strange is Steve Ditko's character before it's Stan Lee's character. And then, they would go off and do the art, and then the art would come back to Stan Lee, and Stan Lee would fill in the captions and fill in the word balloons. But, where Ditko and Kirby didn't have the sense of business or the sense of showmanship that Stan Lee did, they fell to the wayside while Stan Lee rose to the fame that he now has. Marvel cameo after Marvel cameo after Marvel cameo. But if you like Spider-Man, the reason you like Spider-Man is because of Steve Ditko. Steve Ditko was the one to design the character. Apparently Jack Kirby took a pass at it, but he made like a beefier version of the character and didn't have the costume. Stan Lee creates the costume that you see in every toy store and in every classroom, in every film. That's Steve Ditko's costume. And, Steve Ditko, when he went to plot Spider-Man, he was concerned with the self-doubt and torture of Peter Parker. Stan Lee was like, I want to create a Spider-Man hero, and I want him to be a teenager. Go and do your thing. And Steve Ditko did the rest. And so Stan Lee would get these pages back, and he would see the torment that Peter Parker was going through via the images, and he wrote to that doubt that Parker experiences. And, to me, I look back at those first 30, I want to say it's like 35 issues were all illustrated by Steve Ditko before John Romita came on board. But you look at those early Parker issues and the pain associated with that character and the triumph of that internal struggle that really does come from the illustrations and the panel plotting of Steve Ditko. And I think about Amazing Spider-Man number 33. That's the famous final chapter issue that's recreated in Spider-Man Homecoming, where this heavy machinery has collapsed on Peter Parker. And where one artist may have gone and done one page of, thing has fallen on me. By the end of that page, I've lifted that thing. Well, Steve Ditko took 4 pages. And over the course of those 4 pages, and he starts with like, forgive me if I'm not 100% correct on this, but like 9 panels on page 1 of Parker suffering under the weight of this machinery, dying, and the images of Aunt May and Uncle Ben talking to him. And over the course of the next page, it's now like 2 panels, and then 2 panels, and then 1 big panel of him lifting it. And over the course of that second page, he's freeing himself. He's finding the strength, the inner strength to lift this thing. And then, by the 4th page, it's a splash of Spider-Man lifting the thing victorious. And over the course of those 3 pages, Stan Lee took those and made it the shedding of guilt that Parker had. What makes Spider-Man so interesting is the idea that when he got these powers originally, he wanted to profit from them, and he didn't care about society or what was going around him. And so when a thief passed by him after robbing the wrestling arena, he was just like, yo, copper, that's not my problem. And then that guy goes and kills Uncle Ben. And he's been suffering under this pain for so long. And in embracing his new powers and his ability, not so much his powers, but his ability to help others and then help himself, he's able to free himself of that guilt in Amazing Spider-Man number 33. And it's a really powerful sequence. And because of Steve Ditko's passing, I went back and I read that issue again, and I obsessed over those 4 pages. And it really is an emotional experience. And, like I said, I give credit to Stan Lee, but, you read those comics and a lot of it is still thought bubbles of the character thinking of what he's doing. I'm Spider-Man and I'm going to climb up this building. And then he'll have a dialogue balloon. He'd be like, I'm climbing up this building.
Yeah.
You know, you could take all the dialogue away from those Spider-Man comics and still appreciate them and enjoy the story. And in fact, I kind of wish they would.
Yeah.
I would love to have artist renditions without the Stan Lee stuff to really appreciate the illustrations that Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby and John Romita and those guys did back in the 60s and 70s.
That'd be cool, like an unwrapped.
Yeah, they've done that. IDW publishes these massive artist editions. They're like $150 black and white unwrapped editions of, you know, that famous story and other stories. And they're really, really cool. But they're also like 2 feet tall.
Shit.
So that I mean, where do I store those? I guess I make tables out of
at your
those?
coffee table.
Exactly. So yeah, I would encourage, if you're curious about Steve Ditko and the whole idea of Ditko versus Stan Lee and what they attributed, BBC4 did an hour-long documentary all about Steve Ditko. And the documentarian, this British guy, he's in search of Ditko because Ditko, after the 60s,
oh yeah,
there are no photographs of him, you know, after like 1968.
Yeah.
He became a recluse, and he would not do interviews. He did some essays, and that's how he would speak to the comic book audience. But he did not do interviews. And here's this British guy, and he wants to knock on Steve Ditko's door and have a conversation. And it's all about him getting to that point. Vulture.com, they also did a really interesting article at the time of Doctor Strange, theatrical release done by Abraham Reisman, called "The Creator of Doctor Strange Will Not See You Now," where he also tries to hunt down Steve Ditko. And it's a fascinating read. And in the documentary, the interviewer puts Stan Lee to the test and says, is Steve Ditko, do you consider him a co-creator? And to Stan Lee's credit, he has made sure that Ditko and Kirby, all their names are in all the films that we've seen of late. But in this interview, you can see him go like, no, I consider him a co-creator. And that word consider became a giant thorn in Ditko's side, and he hated considered.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, you're still distancing yourself. And when the interviewer pushes him, Stan Lee says, look, I came up with the idea. I think the person who came up with the idea is the creator.
Yeah.
And then he immediately backs away from what he had just said to give respect to, you know, his collaborator.
Yeah.
You know, I love Stan Lee, but again, when Kirby and those guys were looking to get compensation for what they created, and, you know, it was a work for hire business at the time and still is. So they don't have the rights to the things that they create, these billion-dollar properties.
Yeah.
But when Kirby and those cats were trying to get compensated, Stan Lee came out against them and said, this is work for hire. And then, you know, Kirby dies and Stan Lee does the exact same thing and says, hey, I deserve compensation for this. And Stan Lee got his money and, you know, continued to get paid, you know, $1 million a year every year for being Stan Lee, where dudes like Steve Ditko lived as like a recluse in some shitty apartment in New York City.
Yeah.
And Jack Kirby, you know, has a legend, but died for the most part unknown by mainstream media.
Yeah.
So it's complicated and it riles me up. And, you know, when Steve Ditko passes and you know, when Stan Lee eventually passes, he's 95 years old. When that happens, I want to celebrate Stan Lee, but we should also be celebrating Steve Ditko, Jack Kirby, John Romita, you know, these originators.
Yeah.
I talked more than I thought I was going to about Steve Ditko. You know, I also saw 2001: A Space Odyssey at the AFI. I saw Wattstacks at the AFI.
How was that?
Oh my God, so great!
Yeah,
loved watching Wattstacks. The only time I had seen that film before was on YouTube. You know, in crappy, awful presentation.
Yeah.
And to see it on the big screen with the sound of the AFI Silver was phenomenal.
Yeah.
And what I didn't really appreciate about Wattstacks the first time I saw it was the fact that, yes, you have all these amazing performances, you know, the Staple Singers and Rufus Thomas and Isaac Hayes and Carla Thomas, all these amazing talents. But what's so cool about Wattstacks is that the documentarians go into Watts and talk to business owners and homeless guys and people on porches and people in restaurants, and get the opinions of the citizens of Watts about the state of the country at the time, their neighborhood, the repercussions of the Watts riots, and their hopes, their dreams, their fears. And when you're watching this documentary, you go, this is the same old shit.
Yeah.
Like, we're still working on all this, people.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that aspect of that documentary.
Yeah.
And then finally, before we move on, so many good comic books out this week.
Yeah.
Cosmic Ghost Rider #1. You may remember me talking about this character in Donny Cates's Thanos trade paperback a few weeks back. And that comic ended with Frank Castle, future Punisher, becoming the Ghost Rider and dying at the hands of the Silver Surfer, swinging Mjolnir into his face. Well, Frank Castle wakes up in Valhalla. Odin has allowed him entrance. And Frank Castle's picking fights with all the gods. Now, he can't kill anybody because nobody dies because they're already dead.
Yeah.
But he's becoming a real hassle to old Odin. And he's like, look, man, you got to go. You can't stick here anymore. You're just not good for this place. And he's like, well, what can I do? My family's still dead. I've got nothing. I'm dead myself. He's like, look, I'm going to give you back your cycle. You're going to become Ghost Rider again. I don't want to be Ghost Rider. Too bad. I'm a god. Boom. He turns him back into the Cosmic Ghost Rider. He's like, well, great. Now that I'm the Cosmic Ghost Rider, well, what the hell can I do? Odin, can you send me back in time? And Odin's like, yeah, I can do anything. I'm Odin. He's like, everyone's always talking about how they want to go back in time and kill Hitler. And nobody ever goes back in time and kills Hitler. I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to kill Thanos. And Odin's like, yeah, okay. And he sends Cosmic Ghost Rider, future Punisher, to Titan. And there is baby Thanos, this tiny little baby. And he puts a gun to the crib of Thanos. He's sleeping. And before he pulls the trigger, baby Thanos wakes up and lunges at him and goes for him and starts beating on him. And Cosmic Thanos is like, or Cosmic Ghost Rider is like, how are you already like this? This tyrant. And he punches baby Thanos in the face. There's this great panel of like, wham! Baby Thanos gets punched. This infant Thanos. And he goes, you know what? I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to strap you to my chest in a chain baby Bjorn, and we're going to hit the road. And that's the end of the first issue. It's like Cosmic Ghost Rider, a.k.a. future Frank Castle, living in the past with baby Thanos strapped to his chest on his hell cycle.
So he's going to raise him.
Yeah. He's like, Thanos, whoever raised Thanos before utterly failed. Cosmic Ghost Rider is going to be a better daddy. And that's the premise of the comic book.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, can't wait.
That's so freaking crazy.
It's crazy and so good. So good.
Oh, man. Thanos is going to turn out the exact same way.
Yeah, if not worse.
Oh, my God. That's awesome.
It was so good. It was so good.
All right, well, you know what? Color me curious. I need to know how this turns out now.
Same.
Oh, man. All right, is that all you got?
That's all I got.
For your Weekend Dork? All right, for my Weekend Dork, I, of course, saw Ant-Man and the Wasp, which we'll be talking about here shortly, and I also got to see the First Purge. This came out on the 4th of July.
I really wanted to see this.
You know what? So my history with that franchise is weird. It's funny. It's kind of like Pirates. Like I saw the second one first, and I enjoyed the second one so much. I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to the third one when the third comes out. So the third one comes out and it's not as good as the second one. I didn't like the third one.
Just like Pirates.
Right. And so, but Frank Castle, not Frank Castle, dang, Frank Grillo.
He would be a great Frank Castle.
Man, Frank Castle in the world of the Purge. Oh, man, he lives for this night.
Is it at part 2?
Right? But Frank Grillo is great in the second one. That's what made me like it so much. So when he came back for the third one, I was like, all right, cool. But it just didn't, I barely even remember the third Purge film. But anyway, so when they announced the first Purge, I kind of rolled my eyes and was not really excited about it. And then I saw that first trailer, And I like the concept of, if you're going to go back, I like the idea that, they started this experiment out somewhere small. And in the film, this experiment is isolated to Staten Island. And so what they're doing is...
Oh, so the first purge happens in a tiny community?
Right. So what they do is in the near future, there's a third political party, the Founding Fathers.
Right.
Right. And so the Founding Fathers, they hear of this psychological experiment that Marissa Tomei's character, she's a psychologist, and she comes up with this thesis about, everyone having this unchecked rage and aggression inside, and it being a good and healthy thing to have that released in some type of controlled manner. So it's her idea, and they propose this idea of the purge. So for 12 hours, all crime is legal, murder, robbery, whatever, you name it. And so what the Founding Fathers decided to do is we want to do a test run, and we're going to have it again. We're going to have it just be isolated to Staten Island, and even more so, we're going to go, and the main hub and heart of this experiment is going to be this this housing projects on Staten Island. And so what they were doing is they were paying people, to these low income people who are in this impoverished area. They were paying them $5,000 to stay on the island during the purge 12 hours, right? Because everyone else, everyone was free to leave. Now, if you agreed to stay, you're basically agreeing to be a part of this experiment. So it's kind of like when you go to one of these science places and you sign up to be a part of the experiment for a couple bucks or whatever, right? Yeah. So you have a choice to leave. You don't have to stay there during the purge, but if you do stay, you're going to get compensated. And so, you have these protesters out there, and, people talking about, whether this is right or wrong, and, why are they choosing to do it in this particular area instead of some area out in the Midwest or wherever. And so the movie, I'm not going to go like point by point. I really enjoyed this movie. I loved it better than the third movie, and I think I like it better than the second one, maybe.
First one's not good.
And that's the thing. Like, and to go back to what I said about the Pirates trilogy, like, I haven't even seen the first Purge film. Mm-hmm. And
have you not seen the first Pirates movie? You've seen that by now.
So I went back and then eventually watched that one, but with the Purge movie, I haven't gone back to watch the first Purge film.
You don't need to. I like Ethan Hawke and Lena Headey, but
it seems like what this franchise was doing, starting with the first film and what it's become by the third film, is like it's growing a little bit in scope. Because from my understanding, the first Purge film is like a home invasion film. Yeah. And whereas the second one is more like the warriors. City, like you got to survive and get from point A from point B to the city. And the first Purge kind of takes a little bit from the second and third film to be its own thing. And so what I found interesting first and foremost was that, the entire cast, like the marketing for this film doesn't fully inform you that like this is almost an entire, like the cast of characters is multi-ethnic. Like the main dude and the main guy and the main female protagonist is African American, Dimitri. His real name is Wyland Noel. I'm probably mispronouncing that.
Yeah, he's on Insecure.
Oh, okay. Well, this dude is, I mean, okay. So it's funny because I was watching this movie and thinking about Superfly, right? So he's the Superfly of the Purge universe. He's this gangster. He's this guy in on Staten, New York. This gangster drug dealer guy who he's doing well for himself. And the universe of this movie is that if this movie cliche were in the universe of the Purge, what would happen? Like, so what would a guy like that do during something like this? Would he do what you expect? Oh crap, there's no law for 12 hours. I get to go wipe out my competition. I get to go rob some banks or give it to screw the police over, whatever. But this guy, he has a history with the main girl, Naya, played by Lex Scott Davis, but he also feels like something is wrong. He doesn't he doesn't. He feels like the government and everyone's not being on the up and up. So what happens is they start the experiment, but people don't react in the way that they predicted. So what they do is and this is in the trailer, they have some hired men go in as disguised as citizens to start the killing, to initiate this, the back and forth between people trying to survive and killing each other or whatever. Because if this experiment works on this smaller scale, then the new founding fathers will roll this out to a nationwide type of deal. And so that's what's happening in the film. You're seeing the origin. You're seeing how how it all started, and you kind of know you know how it's going to end, because of the the Purge, the original film and the subsequent sequels. That it went nationwide, so you already know that it's going to happen. But just to see the social commentary on the government trying this experiment and then focusing in on the projects and these low-income people to take advantage of that, and the projects themselves, that's what they were. That's what the original idea for projects were. It was an experiment, right? Mm-hmm. And so I found that kind of interesting. And
this sounds like what I wanted the Purge films to do from the beginning: get political,
yes,
get angry,
and it does. And so I'm watching this movie, and it takes place really. It's in this urban. The setting of it is mostly urban, and again, like the cast is mainly African American or people of Latino descent. And I was really surprised by that, because the trailer doesn't show you that. It is a showcase that it's like a black movie, right? And then the director is Gerard McMurray, and I didn't know, I wasn't familiar with that name, and so looking up on IMDb, he was associate producer for Fruitvale Station.
Oh,
so he's worked with Ryan Coogler, and so this is his first time directing, I think. If it's not his first, maybe his second. But he's a very, and it sounds like a backhanded compliment. I was going to say he's a competent director, but it doesn't feel like one of those
rush jobs,
director for hire type of studio films. It doesn't feel like that. And again,
Blumhouse, man.
The main guy, Wylan, his name is spelled capital Y apostrophe LAN. So I guess it's Wylan. Noel, that dude has screen presence for days. I'd be shocked if he's not. I just saw him cast in the sequel to Black Panther. He has screen presence for days, and he's the character of Dimitri. He's the I guess the drug dealer with the heart of gold, so to speak. He's does
Superfly,
right? He's Superfly, right? But that guy, that actor, he takes that character and that script and that what he could come across as. I mean, he comes across as a more viable hero than Superfly does in this remake. And that guy, he has screen presence.
I love that guy. Yeah,
but this guy, he's a star waiting to get his big break. And so, and that's what concerned me about the marketing of this film, is that unless you see this movie, you won't know this guy's face, but he's the main dude in it. And so, I don't know, I found that really interesting.
I'm gonna see it before next week in Dork. I'm gonna check it out. I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, and again, it's not trying to reinvent the wheel or whatever. I mean, it is entertaining first and foremost.
Beyond you, I've been hearing lots of positivity coming off of this movie.
Yeah, first and foremost is entertaining. Yeah. Again, the leads are he's just magnetic. Both he and Naya, Scott Davis.
Marissa Tomei, the evil scientist in this film? She's
not the evil scientist. She's she's a psychologist that comes up with the experiment of. She comes up with the idea that we need to be allowed to get our purge and stuff like that, right? And even her character is not what you think it is. So, but yeah, I enjoyed it. So yeah, that's all I got for my weekend dork. I've been. Like Brian, not thinking about Comic-Con, and really not on purpose. If I wanted to, I would do it on purpose, but just being so busy. And then when I do think about it, I purposefully try to not think about it because I don't want the wait to be excruciating. But like you said, we're 10 days out, so it's
too
almost
late
time.
now.
Yeah, so I'm excited. So when we get back from the break, we will be doing our review cast for the MCU's next installment. The Ant-Man and the Wasp.
The 20th Marvel movie.
That's nuts. 20 films. 20 films deep in the MCU, and here we are. So stay tuned for that after the break. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch the movie.
Yeah,
then
because
come
we're
back.
going to spoil this film.
Ladies and gentlemen, the review cast for Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Hey, this is Liz from People I Think Are Cool, a bi-weekly podcast where I interview my favorite creatives from across the globe. If you're looking for a dose of creative inspiration, then go to peopleithinkarecool.com or subscribe to People I Think Are Cool on iTunes and Stitcher.
You like film, from cult to classic, from blockbuster to B-movies. And there just isn't that one place with all the fan fervor and passion that's covering the kind of mad, diverse brilliance that you love.
Well, that's where you're wrong.
AfterMovieDiner.com is that fan-built movie nirvana just for you, featuring the sweet, sweet writings of the wife dork herself. AfterMovieDiner.com. Go there. Be the best you can be.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Shout out to our sponsors. The People I Think Are Cool podcast.
Yeah.
I love Liz and I love Jimmy and I love all the things that they do and I love their little jingle. And
you can buy their sweet competition.
Sweet success.
Sweet success. I was about to say, and the Electric Boogaloo.
Their new children's book.
So good,
Highly
so
recommend.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's really lovely. And Darren, I know you're a big fan of John Cross's voice at the end of that jingle.
Also, shout out to the After Movie Diner podcast and their little spot too. I love the way it goes. Be the best you can be.
Apparently, one of the Queer Eye guys is like a family friend. Bobby is like a family friend of John Cross.
Really?
John Cross's lady. Yeah, which makes us like 3 degrees from Bobby.
That's
which makes us practically the Queer Eyes.
We got to get those guys on the podcast.
We got to get those guys to give me a makeover. Now that they've done one
Dude,
woman.
they don't get to do your makeover. I need the makeover.
Yes,
but we got to
Should we nominate him?
It's Ant-Man time.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, Marvel MCU movie number 20. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in a life post-Infinity War now, and the first movie out of the gate from Marvel Studios is the sequel to Ant-Man.
Ant-Man 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, when did
Funny
Ant-Man
every
come
time.
out?
Ant-Man came out after Age of Ultron. It became a palate cleanser for that film.
Yes.
And then now this movie is pretty much a palate cleanser for the sorrowness that was and is Infinity
But
War.
kind of not because of that fucking tag.
Yeah, I was going to say until you stay to the,
Yeah,
the very
the
end.
entire time you're watching Ant-Man and the Wasp, there is a little bit of a doom and gloom nature to it. In fact, when Lisa and I were walking out of the Alamo Draft House after our screening, there was this kid going, "I was sad the whole movie."
Damn. Damn. All right. But let me see. We have to do our good, the bad, the ugly. So we're going to start off with Brian. Brian, you've seen it 2 times, right?
Yeah, I just recently saw it again last night.
With his mom. Isn't that sweet?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I saw it with her the first time.
Oh, never
And you're
mind.
like, you're a distraction. I need to see this
Yeah,
again
I was like,
without
no,
you.
you got to stay home. I can't.
Damn. All right.
No, she enjoyed it.
Well, let's start us off with the good.
Oh, man, there's a lot that I really, really liked about this film. Hopefully I can kind of get through most of it. But first thing that kind of stood out to me that I really enjoyed was really just the family dynamic that we kind of get to continue with from the first film. Of course, the theme of fathers and daughters, mothers and daughters as well with this movie.
And
with,
fathers and daughters.
Yeah, that's what
That's what he said.
That's what I said
Oh,
first.
sorry. I stopped listening for a whole second.
But yeah, I just love the dynamic that we see throughout all the themes in this movie, especially when you start the film with Paul Rudd Scott and his daughter doing the little maze thing through the house. And,
Dave made a maze.
yeah, that's the first thing I thought of watching that. And then we also see the continued relationship between Hope and Hank Pym, and then Hope with her mother, and then also when we get into some of the antagonists of the film dealing with Ghost and what we learn about her backstory with the relationship that she has with, well, this is spoilers, with Lawrence Fishburne and what happened to her father. So just having all that same dynamic of the family dynamics and the relationships between father and daughters, I really thought was really,
Bobby
really good.
Carnival also, the way his character is so loving to
Yes.
Scott now.
Yeah, when he wasn't that way in the first film, I thought that was a nice little turn for his character. So that's one thing that really kind of stood out to me was that the comedy I thought really was good. I thought for me most of the time it hit. I've heard some criticisms about Randall Park, but I
thought he was wonderful. He's one of my good. I thought he was funny.
So I agree. I thought he's
hilarious in this
funny,
movie.
and I like the chemistry between him and Paul Rudd. I think if you're a fan of his character from the comic books, it's a disappointment.
Okay.
Jimmy Woo, as the leader of the Agents of Atlas, is not such a comical.
Yeah.
Well, actually, he's basically just a gag in this movie. He's like a reoccurring gag, but he's funny.
But that's a character like that. In every Marvel movie, we see the cops being duped by these superheroes.
Sure.
And in comparison, they're so underprepared to deal with this.
Sure.
So I like the fact that they kind of embodied that in one character.
Yeah. And we're all used to, even in the MCU, seeing different versions of these characters cinematically versus their comic book version.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed his character. I thought he was really funny. And again, speaking more so on the comedy, of course, Michael Pena and the whole group with T.I. and the other guy who I forget his name.
David Dalmatian.
The guy from The Dark Knight.
Baba Yaga?
But their chemistry together is just fantastic, and I kind of want to highlight this truth serum.
Yes,
scene was hilarious. I loved watching that scene because we all were like, okay, we Michael Pena has to do like his little riff on
recaps.
Recapping, telling the story, and okay, we know we're going to see it again. How is it going to be done? And I remember seeing it last night for the second time. When you hear that music, that cue, I heard somebody in the audience. They were like, yes. It was like
that's from Coffee. That music.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's like the cue for the audience, and they're like, okay, here it comes. And people were waiting for it.
And when Pena walks into the jail cell with that wig, oh man, dying.
Yeah. It was great. It was absolutely great. I love that. We'll get into some of the villain stuff. I'll talk about that a little bit later.
You didn't like Walton Goggins?
No, that's actually that's my good and my bad. I'll get into the bad, but Walton Goggins, as far as his character, he has so much swag in this movie.
Dude, between this and Tomb Raider, you're just like, give this guy a movie.
Yeah. Now, as far as what his character was doing and everything like that, I had some issues with that. But just his performance,
so good.
It is. I mean, just that southern twang that he has.
And again, going back to the truth serum sequence.
Yeah.
Do you know what blows my mind is that he doesn't actually have a southern accent. Have you ever heard an interview with him just talking as himself? It's fucking weird.
Yeah. He feels like he should have that, but if not, he does a great southern accent.
That scene when Hope, she goes in to do the exchange with him. When you get the introduction of his character, his performance.
That scene, it really puts you on notice. Like, man, this dude is cool. Like, he just has this swag about him.
Do you think you could like hang out with that guy, Walton Goggins? Like, we're at Comic-Con.
If he's like his character in this movie, hell yeah.
He seems like the kind of guy that he seems like a guy that reads a lot and that knows a lot. Like he would surprise you with like the stuff that he's up on. I think. Yeah. I would love to hang out with Walton. That's Boyd Crowder.
He is from Georgia. I just looked up his Wikipedia. He also has the same birthday as my brother John.
Shout out to Walton Goggins and John for sharing a birthday.
Well, look at his Wikipedia photo. Look how happy he is.
He's happy, and he's wearing a hat. I'd be so mad if that was my Wikipedia photo. Like, I'm a famous actor. I do all kinds of shoots to when I'm looking handsome.
I like that photo. He's super joyous.
I bet you he chose that. That's why I would like to hang out with that guy.
Yeah. He was great. The action. I guess this is probably my last point that I want to make, and of course, there's probably more that I like, but I just thought let
some of us say nice things about this.
I'm sorry. I didn't know if I should just talk
about the action.
No, but I love the way Peyton Reed is able to kind of film and choreograph and stage a lot of these action sequences. Again, talking about the power sets of being able to shrink and grow, and the way, especially in that scene that you were talking about, Darren, when you see Wasp in action for the first time, and especially in that kitchen, and you see the way she can shrink to avoid a hit and then grow back, and then it's really cool the way Peyton Reed is able to kind of
how you immediately flash back to her frustrations in the first movie and going, give me the suit.
Exactly.
I'll show you what to do. And now she's got it.
Exactly. And she shows you
she's
what to do.
She's hyper fucking capable.
Yeah.
Yes. What a cool, what a cool female superhero.
Absolutely.
So awesome.
It's just seeing her do the stuff in this smaller film, because this is a smaller scale film. As we just mentioned earlier, we're coming off the heels of Infinity War on an intergalactic level. You have this family-focused film, and for her character, the stuff that she's doing in this, the second time I was watching it, Lisa, I just got excited at the potential for her when she is unleashed upon like the larger MCU, and how she can be of use on a larger scale.
You think about that moment in Infinity War where Okoye and Black Widow go back to back against Proxima Midnight.
Oh, man.
Now let's throw the Wasp into an action scene like that.
Oh, my God.
Like, how do her and Gamora, Gamora's alive, people. Don't worry. How do her and Gamora kick ass together?
Or her and Captain Marvel.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So yeah, I thought the action was very well staged, and especially when you see also the power set of Ghost and how she uses her power, and seeing Ghost and Wasp fight with the phasing and the shrinking at the same time.
That's my favorite sequence, action-wise. You see it in the trailer. Ghost and the Wasp in the van, plus the goons in the van.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
So good.
So good.
Yeah. And my last point, and you just kind of mentioned it, Darren, that I love the fact that this is such a scaled down story. I mean, we got Infinity War. I like the fact that this is a movie. Of course, it's coming after Civil War, but we're dealing with just a small story like we did in the first movie. I mean, these are superheroes, but we're dealing with just a story about them trying to get their mom out of the quantum realm. Scott, has the last 3 days on house arrest. I mean, these are just like small kind of everyday problems that we're in the city of San Francisco. I like seeing that Marvel is able to make these smaller scale, very intimate type of story, these superhero movies, because I guess that's one of the big complaints a lot of people have is like, okay, everything feels like it's world ending, and these movies don't have to be world ending. You can have these small stories and really be compelling and interesting with interesting characters.
But then you get to look at those small elements and go, well, how is the quantum realm going to interact with everything else?
Yeah, absolutely,
So good.
absolutely. So yeah, I mean, Marvel is just they're doing it right. They're doing it right.
Wife Dork.
Yes.
You're good, and you're good.
Oh, thanks. To me, like a lot of Ant-Man feels like they listened, they saw what was good in the first film, and they're like, let's do that more, but really successfully. 'Cause that sounds initially like a diss, but it's not. Like
No, because some films are guilty of saying, "Oh, let's do more," and it being
Deadpool.
Yeah.
Too. Not to shit on another movie. That's unfair. But like we see it in way more Luis, way more Kurt, who's the David Down guy. A lot more size Jinx. We love to see little things big. We love to see big things little.
Dude, the ants in this one.
So funny.
Yeah.
I can watch an ant. The whole movie could have just been an ant playing drum pads with headphones on, and I would just be like, yes.
To me, it was the ant who's been genetically enhanced to mimic Scott Lang, sitting with a big bowl of cereal on his
ankle monitor.
belly with the ankle monitor.
Yeah.
I was dying.
So funny. I also think they did a really good job of having every single character, even the little guys, even the sub characters, in a different place than they were in the first movie. I like that now Luis, Kurt, and T.I., I did not look up his name. Dave now have this business, and it's something that they have a talent for. They're going to thrive in. They have an insight into.
Yeah, but they're in the red like that cherry lighting of the Edmonds.
Yeah, well, the last thing you want to do, like, it's kind of. I think it's funny that they put ex-con in their title, like, if you're going to have someone put your security system in, make sure it's a bunch of thieves. Like, that's counterintuitive.
They wanted that X-Men branding.
It does look cool.
You're right.
I think that Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly make a totally cute couple. I love to see them smooching it up. Super fun. I loved all of the scenes, of course, between Cassie and Scott. I think Cassie continuing to be this grounding character for Scott, I think, is beautiful.
Until Dr. Doom kills her.
Brad was doing that through the whole movie. Every scene she was in. Yeah.
Damn.
Dr. Doom kills her.
She'll be back.
I love Brad already mentioned how supportive now Bobby Cannavale is.
Mhm.
That was a character that could have easily taken a step back and still been a little jealous.
Mhm.
But, because he knows that, one, Judy Greer is totally with him. He doesn't feel threatened by him in that way. And
I love how supportive they are of Scott in confinement.
yeah, that he's been under house arrest, but they don't think that this is, he's just back to his old ways. He's under house arrest for being a freaking hero.
Mhm.
I like the plot of going back into the quantum realm for Janet Van Dyne, and I think all of those scenes are visually stunning, and I think
Did you see it in 2D or 3D?
we saw it in 2D.
Oh.
Do we need to see it in 3D? Okay.
I don't say you need to, but it can't hurt, especially those particular scenes. Yeah.
I think that it was beautiful. I think that they're still finding new ways to express what the quantum realm can be. And I think that there were kinds of things that mirrored the first film. There were things that mirrored Doctor Strange, but there was also stuff that was new, which makes you feel like the quantum realm still has so much to be explored.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I was not so much into the Ghost and Bill Foster storyline,
Save that for your bad, Lisa.
but it's not bad enough for my bad.
Oh.
So I thought I would mention it here. And I also really loved the tag.
Oh, yeah.
So
All right.
good.
All right, B.
I like, as usual, we're on like the same page. It seems like I like everything you guys have been talking about.
All right.
I would say that this movie is funnier than the original film. While maybe not every joke landed for me, the highs were super high.
Yeah.
Darren, I wish you were next to me during
Oh,
the
yes.
child sequence when it went full downsizing on us. I could not control myself.
Same.
That was good.
Same.
And
You talking about when he went in the school?
When he was stuck
And
at like
he's-
half size.
He's like elementary school size. And he's in that little
hoodie with the floppy
and
arms.
and it's still too big on him.
The teacher asked for his whole pass.
That shot of him from behind, that size, so freaking funny and weird to me. It was just the most hilarious thing
That
ever.
would be an amazing cosplay, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's so easy too.
Yeah. And the way the Wasp holds back, it's like, you can get it, jump higher, jump higher. Then she just like grows. And...
Some of the like Janet
Hope
quotes from the trailer made me feel like, ooh, Evangeline Lilly maybe isn't so funny, but in the
context of the actual
in
film.
the context of the film, so funny.
Yeah. I think, just to reiterate, Evangeline Lilly's Wasp is amazing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
really liked her in the first film, but now that she has the suit,
And more to
it's
do.
incredibly exciting. And I like how the writers and Paul Rudd lean into his like ceiling of ability, right? He's not totally ineffectual. He does serve a purpose, but really, this is
she's on another level.
Yeah, she's on another level. Hank's on another level, and he's the heart. He's the heart of the MCU.
But also, what's cool is that gives him so much room to grow.
Yes,
for us as
sure.
an audience to watch him, to see him come into. Just imagine like us seeing Scott get to that point where he's as good as the Wasp
I think
is
that
now.
would be slightly less fun, though.
Well,
I don't know. Like, I mean, I agree with you. I really like the dynamic, how it's perfected here, but just the way that this grew from the first film, I think there's another growth, especially post snap. Post getting out
how's
of
he
the
gonna get
quantum realm.
out? Who's gonna find him?
But before
Doctor Strange is. No,
He snapped too.
Bill Foster.
Yeah, Bill
oh,
Foster
yeah.
and Ghost.
Yeah, maybe.
They're the only two people, I guess, if they're still alive, that are aware of
the quantum realm.
the quantum realm and Pym's work on it.
Or Ant-Man will get himself out.
Hawkeye will come.
Yeah, Hawkeye will. Fishing line arrow.
Yeah.
To talk, I know that you have some issues with the Ghost Goliath storyline.
A little bit.
But what I'll say to the good is that Marvel is really coming into their own with the antagonists, or in this case, other protagonists with different points of view. I really appreciated that.
Yeah.
I like that Ghost is not, a mustache twirling bad guy.
Yeah.
When there was the turn and Lawrence Fishburne turns out to be associated with her, and maybe a bad guy, quote unquote, I was really disappointed.
Same.
But the way that character
as the movie
plays
progresses
out,
and you see,
I don't know if they necessarily get enough room to do much with that idea, but I appreciate the attempt. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I noticed that on my second watch. I'll talk a little bit more about it, but it doesn't. It's not as bad as I initially would have thought. But
I really liked that Michael Douglas, still has a lot to contribute to the plot of the film as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. My good, just about everything that you all mentioned. Paul Rudd seeming so comfortable in this role, making it his own. Abby Ryder Fortsum as Cassie. As far as child performers go, like, she's so good. That moment, excuse me, that you talked about earlier, Lisa, when they're in the bedroom and they're leaning up against the bed, and it's that part in the trailer. So how long have you been Ant-Man again? The second time I was watching Cassie's performance, I noticed that when she's doing like there's a natural talent in her ability. It was because when she's talking to him and she's giving her responses, she's not doing like. It didn't feel like she was performing. It didn't feel like she was turning her head in a way to face the camera to get the best angle. Like, there was one moment when she just makes a comment and she kind of like throws her head back on the bed, like she's just relaxing, like you would like having a discussion like that. And I really enjoyed her presence in the film because it, like you said, Brian, it really grounds like the relationship between her and her father. I think it's really the heart of Ant-Man. It's really the heart of Scott, because everything he does for her. And so,
and I think that the use of kid wisdom in this context doesn't seem so cheesy,
right?
And it's not Jerry Maguiring it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She is a normal kid, and I like the fact that she was suggesting, she was trying to hint at her dad that she could be a partner. I thought that was so sweet and so childlike.
And then she's the one who tells Hope that, my dad wants to be partners with you.
Yeah.
Oh,
like you're just like melt.
Yeah. And so I really dug that. The Wasp, she's I saw it for the second time with Zach. And Zach was like, well, she's one of my favorite new Marvel characters now. And I can see why. Like everything that we mentioned before, just making her be that capable and doing it in a way where it serves the story, it serves the movie overall, not just a badass action sequence or whatever.
It serves the character. Like she's worked her whole life to do this thing.
Yep. And so I don't know, it just watching her, it just makes me excited for more adventures with her with other Marvel superhero characters. I just want to see her interact and contribute. The comedy, like you said, Brad, worked a lot more for me this time than the first film. There were way more jokes that hit. Randall Park, like he was like one of the highlights of the movie for me. Between him and Michael Pena, like every time one of those two came on the screen, like I was happy. And I like the end. I like what you just mentioned, Brad, the turn of events between Bill and Ghost. Like I like where that went, that scene with them in the alley. I'm not leaving you. And
I was so shocked that scene even existed.
Right.
Not many Hollywood blockbuster moments would allow for that scene to happen after the plot's been wrapped up.
Yep. And
it feels like almost like a deleted scene.
True.
And what it does for me, what it does for Ghost, when she hugs him. And she sees that, well, I have somebody who's not going to walk out on me and who, in spite of everything that I've done, still won't turn me away. Because she mentioned it. She says it. You said it yourself, like, I've hurt people. And so when he says, in spite of what you see as your faults or your flaws, or in spite of what you did wrong, I'm still going to be here for you. And what that meant to her. And just me personally, like, what that means is, what that means personally, to have someone to be able to say, in spite of everything that you did or what you consider mistakes, I'm still here for you, Darren. And
Like,
so
now that's, Ghost could be a major player if they wanted to.
oh my goodness,
Does she have any powers left? I don't think so.
I guarantee you she does.
I think she does.
That's
so I don't know. I don't know
comic
if
books.
because and they could easy because I don't know like if what Janet did was take away the pain or the ability to phase
lack
or
of
whatever,
control.
Or
lack
gave
of control.
her an ability to control it.
Right. So, but yeah, I would very much like to see her continue in the MCU, and I like what Marvel was doing, like what you mentioned, Brad, with them as antagonists or protagonists with other points of view. Also with Baron Mordo, you sort of had the same thing. So they're setting up these people who could be considered antagonists in the
You
films.
look at like the last batch of Marvel movies, and the detractors who are like, "Oh, the villain problem," they've cured it.
Yeah.
If they even ever had it, we've had this discussion on our Marvel Phase review cast. So go back and listen to those. There's no villain problem.
No, I think they're doing some interesting things.
It's really not.
Because at the end of this film, like for me, I want her to, I want her to atone for what she believes she did wrong, because I want to see her in a good place, in a better place, just because of the nature of this. And she's had a big year. This is her second film this year. She was also in Ready Player One.
I think there was
There's
something
a
else
third.
too. What was it? Ready Player One, and I didn't particularly like her in Ready Player One, although she barely had a character in Ready Player One.
Yeah.
She's in the TV show Killjoys. Oh no, dude, she's in Tomb Raider, just like Walton Goggins.
Yeah,
That's
what I
right.
thought,
That's
too.
right.
Yeah.
And so, as far as her physicality, and
You mean her being a total babe?
She's hot.
Her physicality is like, whoa.
Sorry. She is.
She is though.
I was going to talk about her looks. I mean, she's.
But her
a beautiful
physicality
woman.
is like on point.
But as far as like her pulling off the action and being believable in this film and also in Ready Player One, for me, I see an exciting actor who looks like she has a nice future in action films or genre films. And also she's beautiful. Like her eyes are amazing. And she has an accent and is beautiful. I can't tell where it's from.
England.
But yeah, so yeah, that's my good. So Brian, you're bad.
Well, I did want to talk about in my bad, but you know what?
Oh, and the mid-credit sequence was great.
Yeah.
Like everyone's collective awe, especially the second time when you know it's coming and you just turn around and look at the audience and that happens. Oh. Everyone gets
There
so
were
sad.
still people trying to leave before the credits were over.
that's
Not,
always
I mean, after. Yeah.
How has not the entire world embraced the MCU and know to stay in their
Well, I would
seats?
love to think that they've never missed a Marvel movie, but they've just always left. I love that idea.
I left after the first one yesterday because I already
Well,
saw
you'd
it.
already seen it, though. That's completely different.
Yeah.
that's
After. So, because I was like, after I saw the last tag with the ant playing drums,
So
like,
fun.
I'm not gonna stay for
And the
that.
question mark?
Yeah, I'm not. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna stay for that.
All right, so you're bad.
So my bad. I'll hold off on Hannah john-kamen because I've kind of
Because she's bad.
She's bad. Man, she's bad. But no, I've kind of come around on her storyline. But I do want to mention it. But I really don't have a lot of bad, or I guess the one thing that kind of maybe had a little bit of gripe was, again, we talked about Walton Goggins. Loved his performance. Loved his coolness in this movie. But those cast of characters, him and his goons, they don't really kind of serve a purpose in this movie.
And there's like this connection to the FBI, and then they reveal that connection to the FBI. You're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of is more of a foil for Michael Pena and those characters, like, and really kind of having the gags.
If that was not Walton Goggins, you would not give two craps.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
But now that it is Walton Goggins, he could totally fit in with other.
And it makes me not
movies.
really hate. Or like those scenes don't really bother me that much because I like seeing those characters on screen. You know, Michael Pena and then like the back and forth between them and all the truth serum stuff. So it's still funny, but when you look at it in the bigger context of the actual story, they don't really seem to serve
I don't
a purpose.
think the ex-con characters coalesce in the same fashion that they do in the first movie. Their use in that heist of the climax of part one was more satisfying than what happens here.
Yeah, that's very
even
true.
though Baba Yaga, Truth Serum, all really, really wonderful.
funny.
And Michael
Exactly.
Pena getting in on the action with Evangeline Lilly
Yeah.
and the shrinking cars.
Yes.
I love all that.
All that stuff was great. So, I mean, the one thing I will say about the Bill Foster and Ghost thing is, to me, that whole plot line, and I've come around on this, but I guess I'll just kind of talk about it a little bit, is, to me, it felt like it could have been settled with just a conversation. It almost felt like a misunderstanding where they were trying to get to Janet, to do whatever so that she can heal herself. But going back and looking at the film the second time, and you hear the backstory of Ghost, and you see the anger that she has towards Hank Pym because of what she thinks he did to her father by discrediting him and firing him, and of course the animosity that Bill Foster has towards Hank Pym, and then how S.H.I.E.L.D. used Ghost. I can kind of understand like her point of view of why she would be going that way, but to me, ultimately, it still kind of ended up being just kind of a misunderstanding that could still help her.
There was a flashback between Bill Foster and Hank Pym and their frustrations with each other.
Yeah.
This movie can't be 3 hours long.
Yeah.
But between what's going on with Bill Foster and Ghost and Sonny Birch, it's not the most compelling crisis.
Yeah, but to that point, I think it does flesh out and make Ghost Ava a very sympathetic character.
Right.
And like you were saying, that's really what kind of made that more engaging. Even though I didn't feel that she was an antagonist or a straight villain, or I thought the villain angle that they were playing with her worked, I thought they did a great job of really making her a sympathetic character and feeling her pain.
The writing around those characters could have been stronger, though.
Yeah, but you definitely feel her pain and why she wants to get rid of this phasing thing that's happening to her body because it hurts her so bad. So I like how we're able to really get to feel sympathy for this character. So I don't know. I feel two ways about it. But you're right. I think maybe the writing could have been a little bit stronger around those characters and that particular plot. But those are probably my only bad, so to speak.
Wife Dork.
Yes.
Yep.
My bad. So
I like your glasses, by the way. I'm sorry.
Thanks.
That was random, but I like your glasses.
Oh, I've had these glasses for a while. Maybe you're noticing them because I have such a great hair day.
Well, I like how
today.
they're the two-tone, like how they're brown and then they go to like a lighter blue because you have your shirt is blue.
Oh yeah.
And it's.
Do you know what's weird? My brother John got almost exactly the same glasses.
Yay!
Yeah, so we're twins.
Twinsies.
Twinsies.
All right, sorry.
So one of my gripes with the original Ant-Man movie, and I stand by it, was how like the fact that Scott Lang and Hope were completely in love by the end of the movie. I didn't think that there was enough in the movie showing that they had this kind of interest in each other, that when they started kissing, it was just kind of like, of course I want to see these people kiss, but why? You know what I mean? And so one of my gripes with this second movie is that now that they're together, I don't completely understand why Hope is mad at Scott at the beginning of the movie. Like, I understand he went and there was the Civil War. We all remember that.
He went and helped save the world.
He went and helped save the world.
Right.
He got put, he got arrested and got put on house arrest.
And sent his, friends on the run.
Right, and sent his friends on the run. So they could not be in contact with each other. So I could understand if there could be some... So she should either be super mad and been like, you've ruined mine and my father's life. You're human garbage to me. She gets over it pretty damn quick, Brad.
Yeah,
Don't push my buttons. She gets over it. She gets over it way too easy. So either she should be super mad, or there can be some kind of emotional distance, because it's hard when you're starting, imagine they were probably in the beginnings of their relationship when this happened, and you kind of go like, oh, are we still gonna fuck? I don't know. So,
Whoa! All right.
like, I imagine there to be like some kind of emotional distance there and unsureness on where they stand. Yeah. But like, I don't understand. Like, so at the beginning of the movie, she's a little like miffed. And then there's like the little joke about like, well, if I had gone to Civil War, we wouldn't have gotten caught. Like, to me, that goes, well, I condone what you did. Like, I'm cool with what you did.
You just should have brought me too.
Exactly. So, like, to me, that sounds like they should still be together.
Yeah,
I don't know.
wishy-washy.
It seemed really wishy-washy, and I think completely unnecessary. I think it would have been nice if they started their relationship back up with, "Hey, why didn't you take me to go meet Captain America? Okay, we're cool. Let's kiss."
That moment though, where he's referring to Captain America as Cap. And she's like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "No, that's what we call him."
I'm one of them now, and she's like, "No, you are not."
His fumbling of that whole scene. That's so good.
Paul Rudd is so good.
He is so good. He's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, Brad's turn.
That's it for you?
Yeah, that's
All
it
right.
for my bad.
What up, B?
I'm curious to see how I feel about this film after a few watches. You know, initially the Ant-Man film I did not love, but on this recent rewatch building up to Infinity War, I really connected to that relationship between Scott and Cassie and the idea that he's a loser failure of a father desperately struggling to regain the love of his daughter who loves him no matter what, unconditionally, right? Like I just connected so hard to that emotional storyline, and nothing in Ant-Man and the Wasp connected to me the way that did. And I think ultimately, Ant-Man and the Wasp is not as entertaining a film as the first movie. I like a lot about it. I find it really funny. I think the action's really good. I love Evangeline Lilly, but I was missing that emotional connection. But again, I've only seen the movie once. So, you know how this is all going to happen. Next year, I'm going to rewatch every damn Marvel movie. And on that rewatch, I'm like, you know what? I'm wrong. I'm bumping this top tier Marvel, But as of right now, I think I like it a little bit less. A big reason is I don't think the Michelle Pfeiffer, Janet Van Dyne story works. And now that they've got Michelle Pfeiffer, I was so excited when we were in Hall H and they announced Michelle Pfeiffer as being part of this cast. She's barely a presence. Not only just physically, but emotionally. You get that flashback to Jelly Bean, of hide and seek in the Pym house, and you understand that she's sad.
That scene when she comes back through Paul Rudd.
Yeah,
I want to make that part of my good.
Impeccably acted.
The way he turns to.
But I ultimately I don't know. I was disappointed.
But you don't think that she's a large part of the emotional weight of Hope as a character?
But I don't feel it though. I really don't feel it in this movie. I did not at any point tear up, and you know that I tear up in everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Like when she finally comes out of the quantum realm, I'm happy. And Michelle Pfeiffer, when she gets out of the quantum realm, she does a few things. She cures the ghost, but you're like, oh shit, the original Wasp is here. I want to see Michelle Pfeiffer get to do something. And we were denied that, and I was disappointed. And I was disappointed pretty much with everything Michelle Pfeiffer related.
I thought that the only thing about the Michelle Pfeiffer that disappointed me was her outfit. Like, I don't know that's like, it was very Rey.
Yeah, like she's been living in the quantum realm, and they barely gave her a mask to survive down there.
Yeah, I know.
Like, what is that like bargain basement face plate you've got there?
But that was her helmet, though.
Yeah, it was goofy looking. It did not. No.
It was just the front part of her helmet.
Yeah, it was weird.
To me, why? I know that 30 years is a long time in the same outfit, but where did she find that rag?
I want to see her fighting off some of those tardigrades with that spear she's got.
I love those tardigrades. They're in my good.
Yeah, they're in my good too. This has been a great year for tardigrades. Star Trek Discovery.
Yeah.
This. So I don't know. I didn't hate it. I'm not saying I hated it. I just didn't invest in it the way that I've invested in previous films. But again, I've lived with all those other movies for a long, long time.
Yeah.
A tardigrade looks delicious.
Oh God, no! What?
You don't think it would taste really yummy?
No, I think it would taste like the worst kind of fish.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it would taste like lobster
rotten,
or something.
Sitting out
Langoustine.
On a wharf somewhere, melting under the sun. That's
You're
what it would
wrong.
taste like.
Dip it in butter. Anything's good.
Oh, you mean like it would? Oh, maybe. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, I would never eat that. For my bad, kind of what you were just talking about, Brad. I felt like the movie. So I'll start with Hope first and her resentment towards Scott, her anger towards Scott. I felt like the movie or the screenplay, there was a switch where 1 minute she was pissed off at Scott, and then the next minute she was making googly eyes at Scott, reminiscing about the good old days. And the screenplay would hit that switch, like whenever it just served like the purpose of a scene. Like, so her emotional response to Scott was like all over the place for me to buy into the fact that, you know, they're going to be together at the end of the film or whatever. And this kind of the same thing with Hank Pym. Like, he was, for me, I felt like his anger towards Scott was
artificial.
It was artificial. It was like, it was the screenplay being angry at Scott, not really Hank, because it just didn't make sense. Like when you say it, like, dude, I just went and I saved the world. Like, Captain America came to ask me to go freaking help.
I do like how when he pushes him to admit that he's destroyed the suit, he's like, "What? You destroyed the suit? God damn it!" And then when he says, "Actually, I have saved the suit," he's like, "God damn it! What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Like, I like the idea that he's going to be pissed no matter what he does.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're right for the most part. I mean, it's very manipulated.
Yeah. And so I just didn't like. And then like the editing, like sometimes like they would the editing was weird. Like they would cut from one scene to another, or they'd be in a different place, or just the time. I don't know. The way it was edited, not during like the action sequences, but there were some cuts that just felt like weird to
like
me.
Time-wise, there's a really terrible one where it feels like an entire scene is missing.
Yeah, there was one cut. It was at the end after they escaped from the house when they were
Yeah.
And
like they it was a fight scene where they escaped, and then it cuts and they're right
in
back
the
in the lab.
Yeah.
And I looked at that. And I thought it was a continuation of that sequence, and I was like, oh shit! Okay, so it's like a time lapse.
I'm telling you, there's a deleted scene.
So there were some instances in the film where I felt that. Also, like, and I know this is me nitpicking, and this is what I do because I overthink stuff.
This is
like,
your place for the nitpicks.
All right, but I know I'm guilty of this when I watch movies, period, because I overthink stuff. But like, the rules to the powers, right? So. Sometimes to make the helmet come on, they touch their ear and it'll just flip on, and then other times it just comes on. Like whenever, like when the Wasp first encounter Ghost and she comes into the lobby and Ghost disappears, and Hope doesn't have the helmet
a button on the palm of their hand like Cyclops.
For the helmet.
Maybe.
That's dumb. So what if you grab onto something and it makes your helmet come on or off?
Well, it's fingerprint associated.
It's comics, man. It's comics.
Oh, okay. So again, I understand that. I know it's comics, but like that bothers me. Like when Michael Pena was in the van and he opened the case and he pulled the Hot Wheel car out. The scene cuts, the van shrinks and the car is right there. Like, how did he do that? Like, how did he...
Through the window? He jumped through the window?
Okay.
He flipped the switch and hopped.
I guess. But other than that, I mean, I didn't have any.
Well, my thing I thought about was like, well, how, if they're in the car and the car shrinks, how does it shrink Michael Pena? Like, does it change his molecules because
through
he's
the air conditioning vents?
Because he's in the car.
Come through. Yeah.
Because I can see if you're in the suit changes
it would be
your molecules.
Super gross if he didn't shrink.
But I just thought it was like, okay, this guy. I mean, I just bought into it, but I just thought to myself, he's not in a suit, so how is he shrinking?
It's about shrinking people, dude. Come on.
I mean, I'll roll with it.
I'll roll with it. I'm good. I gave it like 3.5 stars the first time I saw it. So, but I'm just saying, like, stuff like that, like, sticks out to me, and it bothers me. But anyway, so that's my bad for the film.
None of the things are real.
I know. I know.
Well, you're watching a movie, you're not shopping.
I know. Sometimes I am, though. Brian, you're ugly. Not you. You're beautiful.
Oh, that's debatable.
Damn!
He sounds like we need to call the Queer Eye guys. He needs a boost of self-esteem.
Might be. No, I'm good. What was I saying? Ugly, right?
Mm-hmm.
None really I can think of. I was like, I was thinking about it while you guys were talking. I was like, maybe the ants. But I like the ants in this movie. The giant.
Those tardigrades are gross.
No, they're not. They're beautiful.
Whale things. Gummy maggots.
Yeah.
Tardigrades.
Those are ugly.
Delicious.
They sound like whales.
Those pastries that they were eating, they were having.
Edmonds? Edmonds are delicious.
I love a good coffee cake.
Dare
I
you,
I
sir?
don't eat sweets. So
Yeah.
there you go. That's my ugly.
I wish
There
I
you
was a
go.
person who didn't eat sweets. I love sweets.
Well, love me a good sweet.
All right, that's your ugly?
Yeah.
All right.
Not today. On the 4th of July, I went to get my eyebrows done, and I got a facial, and then the lady who gave me a facial told me I was beautiful, and I cried.
Oh.
That's where my self-esteem is at right now. I'm like, I don't think I'm beautiful. Please tell me again.
That's the ugly of my life.
That's the ugly
what you
of-
just experienced.
The poor self-esteem.
Emotions.
I was feeling very vulnerable. My family brings that out of me. My ugly was how cold Scott was to all of those ant deaths. You'd think that if you work so closely and intimately with these ants that when you see them get eaten by a seagull, you'd be like, "Oh my god!"
The first film when Anthony dies, it's like brutal. Like,
Yeah.
oh, and he's like, "No, Anthony," and he had like a relationship with Anthony. But
Now they're just
Antonio
disposable.
Banderas.
Well, you only had Antonio for that one.
But even so, like if I just met Brian and you were eaten by a giant seagull, I'd be like, that is so sad.
Yeah.
I'd be like, that strange guy
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
who is very handsome.
I liked
thank
how
you.
he had a relationship with his one ant, his flying ant in the first film. And
Yeah.
I enjoyed all the insane names that he was coming up with, all these guys. But
Oh yeah, Ulysses S. Ants.
Yeah, that's my
Fun.
favorite one. But yeah, I agree with you, Lisa. That was ugly.
All right. Brad, you're ugly.
Dude, the snap.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
like, you're watching this movie, you're like, well, they're going to have to address this in a tag, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You knew what the tag was going to be, and it was going to be brutal. But who was going to get snapped? And
That's bad odds because it's only supposed to be 50%, and it was 3
Well,
people.
I
in that
knew
scene.
it wasn't going to be Ant-Man.
Yeah.
I knew it wasn't going to be him.
yeah,
but-
I kind of wish
That
it
would be
had
so
been.
convenient, though.
yeah.
I like the idea of the Wasp,
Having a movie.
coming into the Avengers Infinity War. But at the same time, I love the idea of the Paul Rudd hero lost in the quantum realm.
Yeah.
And now he's going to come out and face whatever he's going to face in Infinity War, Thanos. And he is not capable.
And it's interesting too what Janet said, and I don't know if this is going to play
Yeah,
into
time.
She's like, don't get stuck in a time vortex. And of course, we've heard that
Yeah,
the fourth Avengers might be dealing with time travel. So
Yep,
it's interesting. I mean, they're dropping little nuggets here to let us know what might be happening.
That was
That was
definitely
not
like,
it. That was like a boulder. That was like
Yeah.
not a nugget.
Yeah.
Well, true.
But yeah,
true.
so that's my ugly. Just seeing those people disappear, and then again, like
And the audience going,
no, reliving the horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you seen? Somebody did something online where they made an action figure of Peter Parker post snap, and it's like this little Peter Parker box, and it's
It
dust
has in
inside.
it.
That's
Yeah, I've seen
hilarious.
that. I've seen that.
Damn.
that's fun.
That's a little bonus ugly for you.
Damn. Well, I don't really have an ugly for the film, except for the flying gummy whale tardigrade maggot things.
Those are so cool. Star Trek Discovery. I love.
They're in there too?
Yeah.
So they go into the
Remember.
quantum realm?
No, but they
They're
enlarge
responsible-
some shit.
Oh.
Yeah, no, don't. Oh,
Yeah, they enlarge it. They enlarge a tardigrade.
yeah, they do.
Hmm.
It's angry.
Yeah, but it's also it's got reasons.
Okay. Yeah, its mouth that would look like an anus with teeth.
Probably is also its anus with teeth.
Oh, all right. So that's the ugly for me. So yeah, that's gonna do it for our review cast of Ant-Man and the Wasp. Hit us up on social media and let us know what you thought of the film if you have in fact seen it. If not, what are you doing? Stop what you're doing. I was getting ready to say.
Stop what you're doing.
I was going to say the word
Give
to
this
home.
podcast 5 stars.
Oh, that too. Yeah.
Review it, say kind things, and then go see Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Yes, do what Lisa
5
said.
stars. Thank you.
You can follow the podcast at ItModcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and that's it.
Instagram, yeah.
And Instagram.
We're back. We're back on Instagram.
Yes.
And posting all kinds of. I loved the Disco Dork first Comic-Con versus last
the
Comic-Con.
before and after. Yep. You can find Brian at the Turtle Dork on Twitter, at the Turtle Dork 1 on Instagram, and at Brian William Young on Facebook. Fulio, what are you looking forward to this week? Nothing.
Skyscraper.
Oh.
Yeah, man. The Rock.
Oh, all right.
That's my dude, man. That's my dude.
All right.
I love that guy.
Are you going to like this movie more or less than Rampage, do you think?
Probably more.
You didn't like Rampage?
It was okay.
More or less than San Andreas?
I don't know. I actually kind of like San Andreas. But I don't know. I've been hearing some decent things about this movie.
Really?
So.
Reviews have come out on Skyscraper?
It's been a few. But we'll see.
None I've read.
Oh, okay. Wife Dork.
Yes.
What are you looking forward to this week?
Next week our review cast is Sorry to Bother You, and so Brad and I will faux show be watching that. I would like someone to see 8th Grade and tell me if it's vomit free.
Who?
It looks like it's not. 8th Grade. It's actually directed by Bo Burnham, who was like a comedy musician on YouTube for a long time, and he has a special on Netflix called What. He's kind of brilliant. He's yes, and he directed a movie about a girl making it through 8th grade. It looks super fucking painful. 8th grade was a terrible time. But
New
I'm
A24
still,
movie.
Yes, yeah, I'm still curious to see it. So if you
It's
see
out this week?
it, yeah, it's coming out on the 13th.
Okay, I'll check it out for you.
Yeah, so let me know if it's VF. Thank you.
Do that. You can follow her at Sidewalk Siren and at Bake Dork on Twitter and Instagram. She's also at Sidewalk Siren on Letterboxd.
I haven't Letterboxd reviewed anything in a very long time, and I apologize. And maybe I'll go back and do some, but probably not.
Start with Ant-Man and the Wasp, Lisa.
I'm doing it right now.
It's never too late. Yay!
But see, I feel like now jumping in and getting back on Letterboxd will just highlight all of the Letterboxd I haven't done.
No,
Oh God, I hate myself.
Ant-Man and the Wasp right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
While she's doing that, you can follow Mouth Dork at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, Facebook, and all that.
I love me some Facebook.
You have to do that on the private.
You can follow
window.
Mouth Dork at Mouth Dork on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, and Untapped. B, what are you looking forward to this week besides Skyscraper?
My every waking thought is concerned about Comic-Con.
Stop saying that.
And I'm really excited to record our preview cast.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing I'm most excited about this moment.
Okay.
But to do a little self-promotion, I haven't even told you guys this yet, but Leonard Maltin has been doing this every Tuesday, highlighting new voices in film criticism. And I submitted something to him. I got accepted. So on Tuesday, Leonard Maltin's website is going to be publishing a little mini review I wrote on Harlan Ellison's A Boy and His Dog.
Oh,
so I'm
that's
really,
cool.
really excited to, be on his page.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did we see Ant-Man on Friday or Saturday?
we saw it on Friday.
Okay, thank you.
So yeah,
cool.
find my review of A Boy and His Dog on leonardmaltin.com this Tuesday. And I think you're going to find an expanded version of that review probably on Film School Rejects later in the week. But if not on Film School Rejects, you'll be finding it on our ItModcast blog.
All right. I am Darren Smith, the Disco Dork on all social media, at the Disco Dork. I'm looking forward to 8th grade. I'm looking forward to 2001 at the AFI. I'm looking forward to not Skyscraper. I think those two films.
You're going to see Skyscraper, aren't you?
That's not a review cast, though, right?
No, it's not. Oh, you're going to.
This week, I might not see it because I got to go back and see Sorry to Bother You.
Yep,
so I can, because we're going to do a review
And he
cast
has
of that.
to see 8th grade so that he can tell me if it's
Right,
comedy.
okay.
Yeah, so
All right.
something has to.
His docket is full. His dance card is full.
Sorry, Skyscraper.
Well, we'll tell you how Skyscraper is.
Okay.
Hey, before we leave, like where do you put Ant-Man and the Wasp in your ranking? Like, I'm not asking
MCU?
you. Yeah, I'm not asking you to do the entire MCU, but like, is it top tier, middle tier, low tier?
I would say middle. No, it's I like it too much for it to be low tier.
Have you updated your list, Brian?
I ranked it. I gave it 3.5 because I really enjoyed it. I don't know if I like it more or less than the first one, so it's probably around where the first one is. Which I think
I know I like it more than the first one.
I like it more than the first one too.
I think I do because when I initially saw it, that was my first reaction. It's like I like this more than the first, so I think
I think I put it like on par with Doctor Strange.
Oh no, it's nowhere near as good as Doctor Strange.
Wrong.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's for me not as good as Doctor Strange.
I mean, I love Doctor Strange. I've really come to love Doctor Strange, which is crazy because when I first saw it, I was like,
Well, you've only seen Ant-Man, like you said
true.
before.
Yeah. And right now, it's not bottom tier, but it's like bottom middle.
Yeah, I think that's how it is for me.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, Darren.
It's okay. I'm finished. Ladies and
But
gentlemen.
where can we find you?
I've already said that. But if you need to know again, I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Letterboxd, not Untapped. I said I'm Darren Smith, the Disco Dork on all social media.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So now you have no excuse. You know where to find me now. I've said it twice, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your week. At the end of the week, we have our preview cast for Comic-Con 2018. So be on the lookout for that. So this week we will forego our normal fistful, but don't you worry. After things settle down, after Comic-Con and all that, we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Comic-Con preview cast is always one of my favorite episodes to record.
It's a great episode because we get to firstly think back to Comic-Con of years past and reminisce, but then also speculate about our hopes and dreams and wishes for this year. So be on the lookout for that. I think that's gonna be it. We'll be utilizing Facebook Live.
Oh yeah,
at the very least when we're down when we're at San Diego.
We're gonna have lots of Instagram photos, lots of Twitter going on, lots of Facebook. So come find us, and we still have another week in Dork. So we're gonna do our Sorry to Bother You review cast, and Brian's gonna watch Cellular and Days of Thunder.
Yes,
I will.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you have the opportunity, go check out Sorry to Bother You before next week's review cast. Firstly, because you need to see it. Secondly, you want to be up on the conversation when we have it. So that's it. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week. Disco loves you. And until next time.